Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
A couple of weeks ago, I got to go up on stage with Zara Larsson, but before I get into that and explain how that was and how that happened, I want to look back at some of the other concert experiences or interactions that I've had over the years, because I do think that that experience with Zara Larsson is definitely the peak, or I can imagine that that would be the peak. So I first want to discuss some of the less intense interactions that I've had before we dive into that whole moment. Now, I've always had a predisposition for forming parasocial relationships with celebrities, whether that be artists or influencers or whatever. Blame this on my childhood, blame this on the fact that I'm an only child and also an only grandchild, and that I didn't have a lot of friends. Blame this on the fact that I always wanted to be a star, but that never happened for me yet, so I had to settle for obsessing over my favorite celebrities. Blame this on whatever else you can think of, but parasocial relationships and obsessing over my favorite artists has always been a big part of my life. It's a good and a bad thing, because in many instances it gave me purpose, it gave me a goal, it gave me a hobby, but it also made me very vulnerable to spending all of my money on merch and concerts and signed CDs. I would still say the good trumps the bad, but there are definitely moments in which I think life would be so much easier if I wasn't an obsessive person. But alas, if you're a fellow fangirl or fanboy, then you know that there's no better feeling than being acknowledged by your favorite artists in any way possible, whether that be online, on Twitter, on Instagram, or in real life, meeting them, having them interact with you during a concert. That is just as good as it gets. And for me, I've always craved that interaction. I wanted them to know that I existed, which is a bit delulu of me, but hey, if it gets me through the day. So I did have a stan Twitter when I was younger, which was mainly a Fifth Harmony stan account in the beginning, but it has varied over the years for which artist it was dedicated to, or which couple of artists it was dedicated to. I'm not really on Twitter anymore because that life just wasn't for me, but it still gives me great joy to be able to say that the official Fifth Harmony account still follows me. Anyway, so when I had that Twitter account, I sometimes got to experience the feeling of getting followed by one of your favorite artists, or sometimes even getting a like on a tweet or being mentioned or whatever. But I wanted more. I wanted them to see me in real life. And that's when I discovered front row places at a concert. I feel like I'm coming off as a crazed stalker in this video, and I just want to state that I am not that. I'm just very excited about my favorite artist, but that's it. So the first sort of in-person interaction that I had with an artist was when I went to the Miley Cyrus banger store in 2014, I think. I was 14 at the time, and I went with a bunch of friends, and we weren't necessarily front row, but we did queue in advance, so I would say we were like third, fourth, to fifth row, somewhere there. And if you're not actually front row, it is very hard to get any interaction with the artist. But that time we were lucky. At some point during the show, Miley drank water from her water bottle, and then she spat it out on the crowd where we were standing, and a bunch of water landed on my face and on my phone that I was using to film at the time. And I went through this whole thought process, this whole train of thoughts where I was like, someone spat on me. Because at that time, I was very grossed out by everyone and everything. I would never drink from anyone else's bottle or can or whatever. I just hated the thought of anyone's saliva or other bodily juices. And, you know, it's just kind of like a sensory thing. No, thank you. So first I thought, Miley Cyrus spat on me. But then I thought, Miley Cyrus spat on me. And that's when everything shifted, and when I realized I have to interact with my favorite artist if it's the last thing I do on this goddamn earth. After that, it did take quite a long time to have any sort of other interaction with other artists, mainly because I was poor and I couldn't afford to be going to concerts all of the time, and especially not front row. But then when I became older and I was in uni and I could afford to make money for myself, that doesn't make any sense, I could afford to buy concert tickets by working or whatever, that's when I started going to concerts front row again. Before that time, I did also have some other celeb interactions. For example, I met Colleen Ballinger / Miranda Sings. I'm on a picture with her, but that was a different era. That was the era when she was still perceived as a good person before she made that whole ukulele video. It was a better time, honestly. Well, we thought it was a better time. We weren't aware of all the dangers lurking. And I did also meet the actress who played my favorite part in my favorite show ever, being Piper in the show Charmed. That was also a very nice experience. I first queued to get her autograph on her picture, and then I also got the meet and greet with my best friends, so we're also on a picture with her. It was kind of scary because I had planned what I wanted to say to her. I just basically wanted to say that her show was the only thing that could always make me feel better no matter what circumstance I'm in or how sad I am. And I did manage to get that out with a lot of stuttering and a little bit of crying because the show is just so important to me. I literally have the logo of it tattooed on my wrist here. And I was at least able to say that, but I did beat myself up over it a lot after because I was like, why did you stutter so much? Why were you so awkward? Why were you so shy? Like, you know, what they say about don't meet your idols is kind of true in a way because yes, it is one of the best experiences that you could have. But if it goes badly, if the person is not nice, or if you felt like you could have handled things better in that moment, then you're always going to be beating yourself up for it afterwards. So, you know, it's kind of a mixed situation, but for me, I'm still happy about all of the experiences that I've had. Yes, I, in some cases, wish that I would have acted differently, but that's whatever. Anyway, the next artist interaction that I had was at a Fletcher concert. Now, if you don't know who Fletcher is, because she's kind of like a smaller artist, I would say she is kind of like a pop artist as well. And she used to make music that catered a lot to like bisexual girls and lesbian girls because she was just like an advocate for that group of people. And that was kind of the time when I started discovering my sexuality, me being bisexual. And it was kind of like just after I had broken up with the last boyfriend that I've ever had in 2020. And to me, she was just kind of like the figurehead of that discovery. So I really obsessed over her for a while. I don't do that as much anymore now, but for a while, I really looked up to her because she really helped me in discovering that. So when she came to Brussels, I went to her concert, and once again, I was front row. And during the show, we had already had a couple of interactions. She waved at me specifically, and then she also came to the barricades where we were standing and kind of like stood on it so we could like touch her. But I was very respectful, obviously, because I don't want to be that fan that's like, you know, like that's just not respectful. They're people, they're humans. And no matter how hard you obsess over someone, they're still just human, so don't go clawing at them like you're some deranged animal, please. Things like that happen often, and please have some decorum. Anyway, so I was already very happy with the interaction that I had had at that concert, but after the concert, I decided to wait at the exit where she would come out and go to her tour bus because I knew that she did often come out and interacted with her fans after the show and that she did not mind doing this. So I thought it was okay for me to do that as well. She came out and then people were like asking for her signature and taking pictures with her. And then I decided to also ask for her signature. But the thing with her is that she's known for signing boobs. So I was like, hey, could you sign mine as well? But I was so awkward and shy about it. And the way that I also said her name, like I literally just said, hey Fletcher. But like, first of all, I have a lisp. So I hate saying words with that sound in it, like George or Fletcher. And it was also kind of weird for me to say her artist name in a way, because it's like her artist name is her last name. So I should have just said Carrie, which is her first name, but that felt like too personal for me. But I did beat myself up for that for a while. But anyway, she signed my boob. She was very nice. We made very intense eye contact. I did not know what was going on, but it was very intense. And then I went home. And that was kind of one of the most mixed ones for me because I really did not like how I acted in that situation. I was just so shy and so reserved and scared to speak up. And I hated that. So then we get to one of my other most crazy interactions, which is when I went to the Lauryn Hill concert in Antwerp. Now, if you're a younger viewer and you don't know who Lauryn Hill is, to me, she is the pioneer of female rap and female R&B. She is an amazing artist. She was with the Fugees, and her album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, is one of the most awarded albums ever and most critically acclaimed albums ever. Apple Music also named it as their #1 best album ever when they did like a whole ranking last year or the year before that. And it is my absolute favorite album ever. She wasn't really touring that often anymore. So when she did come to Antwerp, I was like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. I need to go to that concert. And I did. But then a couple of days before we went to the concert, I found out there was actually an opportunity to have a meet and greet with her if you were one of the first 50 people to purchase 250 euros worth of merch. So when we went to the concert, me and my friend kind of pooled our merch together in one order so that I could get the chance to meet her, which is very nice of my friend. And I got to go queue and have one item signed by her, and I chose to have a sweater signed. I obviously have never worn that sweater. It's very safe in my closet. I'm looking for a way to kind of like frame it and hang it, but it's a very big bulky hoodie sweater, so I can't find a frame big enough. So if you have any tips on that, let me know. Anyway, so I was queuing to meet her, but also Wyclef Jean, who is also a part of the Fugees and also has done a lot of very famous songs with other artists. He's also featured on Hips Don't Lie by Shakira and many other songs. He's also a very notable name in the music industry. So that was like an added bonus on top of that. When I was queuing, I was kind of preparing in my mind what I was going to say to her because again, I did not want to be stuttering or mumbling or be starstruck. I needed to know what I was going to say. And I did not know prior to coming to the concert that I would be meeting her that day. So it was kind of all very sudden. So I really had to think about it. So when I finally got to get the item signed, I just said, thank you for this opportunity. Your album is my favorite album ever, so it's such a privilege for me to be able to see it live and also to see you live as well, directed at the other person. I also love the Fugees album, obviously. It was something like that. I don't remember exactly how I said it, but I know that I was very proud of myself because I did not stutter and I said it very confidently. And she just looked at me and said, "What's your name, sis?" And I just thought that was so iconic. I still don't know if that was like kind of shady or not. I don't think it was, but it felt a little like, "What's your name, sis?" But she said it in a nice tone, but I was still like, Anyway, they signed the item and then you got the opportunity to take a picture with them, but you had to take it yourself, like as a selfie, because otherwise it would take too much time for all the people to get like a professional picture. So I took out my phone and I kind of like hunched in front of them. They were sitting at a table and I wanted to take a selfie, but my hand was just like, and I couldn't focus. I couldn't focus the image. So at some point, the assistant that was there was just like, "You know what? I'll just take it for you." And I was like, "Thank you so much." And I was just sitting there like, I'm not super happy with that picture because I just look a little out of there. I look a little like, but you know what? I have a picture with the artist of my favorite album ever, and that's amazing, right? So now we're almost at Zara, but there was one other one that I wanted to discuss, and that was when I went to Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour in June of this year, 2025, yes. And that was in Paris because we only got to choose between London and Paris if you lived in Europe. And since I live in Belgium, Paris was the closest. So my friends and I paid a lot of money for our Beyonce tickets for that tour. I'm talking about more than 1,000. And after a long day of queuing and much drama in the queue, we did end up exactly at the spot we wanted to be, front row. I had in advance made a sign for Blue Ivy, Beyonce's daughter, because she kind of like performs almost the entirety of the show with her as a dancer. And I kind of wanted to make her feel welcome. I know it's a weird thing to say, it's not my place to make her feel welcome, but you know, she gets a lot of critique and judgment being Beyonce's child and getting to perform with her during the show. So I just made a sign that said, "Came for Beyonce, stayed for Blue," to kind of like make her feel appreciated, right? And during the show, when she came down at the steps near us, she did see it and she did acknowledge it, which was very cute. And we did also have some other interactions with Beyonce during the show, like more eye contact or waving or pointing, but those are like things that are too small to mention for me, but those happen often. And it's always a bit debatable for someone to say, "She pointed at me, she waved at me, she looked at me," because like, you just don't know with 100% certainty. But I do have some interactions with Beyonce at this show and also at the Renaissance tour where I was like, yes, I'm absolutely positively certain that that was at me or at us or whatever. But I just did not throw those in this video. Anyway, we have finally arrived at the moment I went up on stage with Zara Larsson. So this was on the 2nd of November during the Midnight Sun tour that's still happening as we speak. And I have been a Zara Larsson fan as long as I can remember. I remember listening to Zara when I was 2014, when her first singles came out. I remember listening to Zara Larsson on the way to my first student job when I was 16 in 2016. I remember listening to Ain't My Fault when I was in a relationship that was horrible, and that song just gave me so much confidence about who I was. And ever since then, I've just always been keeping track of Zara's career and Zara's music and who she is as a person. And I've always just really been a huge fan. I would definitely say she's one of my favorite artists ever. But up until this year, I had never had the chance of seeing her live, whether that be to not being able to get a ticket, not being able to reach a specific show, her not coming to Belgium very often. There was always some sort of reason that it just never worked out. And I was always so pissed about it because I needed to see her live. So when this tour came around, I was unemployed, I had no money, but I still got that ticket, which was a horrible financial decision, but an amazing live decision, so who cares? So my friend and I got VIP early entrance soundcheck tickets, and we also queued for a couple of hours before the doors were about to open, and we ended up in the front row again. And first we had the soundcheck experience, which was also very nice because my friend actually got to ask her one of the questions, and then he also kind of like made her notice me as well, which is very, very sweet. I had already said like, I'm gonna be up on that stage tonight, the day before, I had literally manifested it. I did some witchcraft because I was gonna be up on that stage if it was the last thing I did. And when we were queuing, we met some other Zara fans in the queue, and they were like, do you want to be picked to go up on the stage? Because I just felt like there was a lot of competition, because obviously many people want to be picked to go up on the stage and meet Zara Larsson and whatever. But some people actually didn't, because they didn't want to be up on stage in front of thousands of people, which I get, but I had never really thought about that fact. I did not care about all the other people in the room. I just needed to be up on the stage with Zara Larsson. And those other people in the queue immediately said that they would help me get picked because they didn't want to be up on stage, but they wanted me to be up on stage. So I was like, thank you, that's so, so sweet. And on top of that, to increase my odds, I did also make a sign that said, can I serve with you on stage? And I added a little sassy cunty emoji because I know Zara would appreciate that. And I had kind of been soft launching my sign a couple of songs before the moment I knew she was gonna pick someone, because I knew she always did it before she played Lush Live, obviously. And I knew the entire set list, so I knew during which song I really had to get her to see it. So a couple of songs before she was gonna pick, I held up my sign right as she was in front of me, and she already read it. And so my sign had this emoji that was like this one, like the cunty one. I'll include it if I can find it. And she read my sign, and then she was like, so I knew that she had read it, that she had seen it. So I was like, please let that be the confirmation that she's gonna pick me, right? So then the moment came when she came down to the barricades to pick a person, and she was coming over to our side of the barricades, but she had already picked someone else right next to me. And that's when I kind of lost faith. I was like, no, I was so close. But then she came over to me and was like, do you also want to come up on stage and sing another song with us?
Can I be please, okay, love you. Do you want to see me later? Okay, come on, girl.
And I was like, yes, 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 please, please, please. Like, I was begging because I really wanted that. I had been manifesting that the entire night and days before that. And it happened. And the security had to kind of like lift me over the barricade so I could go up on stage. So in total, it was the other person that was picked who brought 2 of his friends with him. So there were 3 of them, and then there was me. But because I was like the last one to be picked, I didn't actually get to sing Lush Life with them because there were already 3 other people, and she was saving me for the other part. So I did go up on stage with all of them together, and I did dance with them. And then Zara did hug me, but I didn't actually get to sing a part of the song, which I was kind of sad about because I'm a singer, like I make music, and I just wanted to sing that song with her because I love singing, right? I think my experience was better in the end, but I would have also just loved getting to sing with her if the other part hadn't happened. But I'm so grateful for all that did happen because it was actually more insane than what I was expecting. So then the other 3 people were escorted off the stage, and so was I. But I actually got to go back because I got to be the person that sits in the chair during Puss Puss. And I didn't even know that there was a possibility of that happening to me until it was happening to me, because yes, I had seen some clips of that chair up on stage and someone sitting in it, but I had only seen the clips of Omar, her support act, on that chair. So I didn't know that it was also for the people who were picked. So that was like a huge surprise, an amazing surprise. But then I was kind of like stressed because I was like, oh, like I wasn't prepared for this mentally, but like obviously I just took the opportunity with both hands, very gratefully. And I was kind of like small talking with some of her assistants before I got to go up on the chair and go up on stage, because Zara wasn't there with me at the moment. She was, I think, either drinking something or changing her clothes. I don't remember, but she was not with me in the vending machine thing. So then they brought out the chair, and Zara was already back on stage, and then I was wheeled onto the stage in that chair.
Believe it, time goes so quick when you're having fun. And I'm from Sweden. And when we say goodbye, hey again, how are you feeling? You look amazing in this little flower crown. I'm gonna sacrifice you now, like we do in Sweden on Midsummer. No, we're gonna sing with you, because you have a little camera on your head. And we're basically gonna say goodbye through you. Like this, hi. So wherever you look, you guys are looking. Are you ready? Everything feels good? Just sit back, relax, and have a wonderful time. Are you guys ready?
And then she did the whole Puss Puss number, like dancing on me, dancing around me. It was amazing, and she was so sweet, so kind, so beautiful. And I wasn't even stressed at all about the fact that I was on stage for thousands of people. or that I was with Zara Larsson. The only thing that I was stressed about is that I had this like GoPro on my head and I had to kind of like film them because that is what the audience would see up on the big screen. And I am such a perfectionist, so I wanted that footage to be good. I didn't want them to be mad at me for taking horrible footage. So I was really focused on being like, okay, gotta look at there. And that was the only thing that I was stressed about, which is kind of good because I feel like that helped me kind of ground in that moment, to kind of like focus on the task at hand and not be like, oh my God, I'm on stage with Zara Larsson. But all in all, it was so amazing. And then I was kind of like wheeled off the stage with Zara Larsson back into the little vending machine.
You did so good! It's scary being up here. It could be a little intimidating. But thank you so much. That was cute. You did so good. Ooh. And you're so beautiful. I don't want this to be over. I'm gonna go with you. Oh.
And then she just kind of like gave me another hug and spoke to me. It was like, you did so well. How was that for you? And I was like, that was amazing, thank you. But then I kind of started rambling a bit because I was like, I literally manifested this yesterday. Oh my God, I should manifest more things because clearly it works. I don't know why I did that, because she just kind of looked at me and went like, yes. But then I was like, oh my God, she's gonna think I'm some like star sign, zodiac, whatever mumbo jumbo type of obsessed person. But then I was like, you know what? She actually has an entire song on her album that's in the theme of Saturn's return. So I don't have to feel embarrassed about that. So that was obviously an insane experience. And there were so many of my friends and acquaintances throughout the entire arena. And they all messaged me afterwards with footage or being like, oh my God, that's so amazing. How was that? And it was just one of the highlights of my life, honestly. So now I don't know how any other experience will ever be able to compare, but I'm very, very happy and grateful that that happened, because definitely a bucket list item. And for that to be the first time I get to see one of my favorite artists and to get to go up on stage with them is actually insane. And that's one of the experiences that makes me believe in some sort of divine power, because what are the odds? What are the odds, right? That was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this little story time video. It's a little bit different than the videos I usually do, but I just really wanted to have this kind of like documented on my YouTube channel, this Zara Larsson experience as well as the others, because I never really talked about it on my YouTube channel and it definitely deserves its moment. So I'm very happy I got to do that, and I hope you liked it as well. And if you did, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel for future videos like these, or completely different, right? Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!